you have within Sugar a tool for managing your projects and relating those projects to customers and accounts or not. The Project Management tab is where you begin your project management work. You can see your list. This is standard stuff. You've seen this a lot in any other module inside Sugar. You've seen list views. From the list, pop-up tips. Yeah. From the list view, you can see all your projects, start date and end dates, and of course, all these fields are customizable. If you want to put in something unique about projects in here, you can add custom fields or non-custom fields out of your list view. Again, it's just like any other module. Where it becomes interesting is when you actually drill down into the project. Now, there's a lot of dummy data in here. Not all these projects are going to make sense, but I'm going to work with this talk about today. Expanding the sales staff in our New Haven office. To drill in here, you can see there's lots of things you can do with the project. So, brief overview here. Every project, just like any other record inside Sugar, is assigned to a project leader, an assigned user, project manager, and a team. So you can see this right here is assigned to Jim Brennan. It's on the global team. I don't want to get into teams and roles and things like that, but this is just like any other record. When I refer to the project manager, I'm referring to the person to whom this project is assigned. Now, you may have other resources, other people working on the project with you, and you may have project tasks. Each of these project tasks can be assigned to other people, but the project manager is Jim Brennan. He's the person it is assigned to. Now, you can define multiple. One of the things that confuses a lot of people about projects is this is not, a project task is not the same thing as a task that shows up on your calendar, as a task associated with an account. Project tasks are unique to projects, and they are tasks that are solely devoted to completing this project. You're not going to see project tasks associated with in your activities module, for example. Let me just show you a real brief tab, and you'll see my accounts page for my account detail page for Northern Trust. This is my activities panel for the Northern Trust account. I'm not going to see project tasks in here. These are just regular tasks, calls, and meetings. So project tasks are unique to projects. They're going to see them in other places. You may see them on your project dashboard and in your Gantt charts, but you're not on. Whenever you create a project task, again, it has to be associated with a project. You can create tasks that are not associated with anything. In fact, your regular accounts, I could create a regular task that's not associated with other records. But project tasks have to be associated with a project. There's also Gantt views here. Now, this is a brief overview, but I want to make sure everybody knows I'm going to get into some details here. I'm giving you kind of a brief overview of this project. There's Gantt views. If any of you out there are professional project managers, then you're going to be very accustomed to the Gantt view. And from the Gantt view, you can create project tasks and make assignments. You can assign resources to tasks and things. Notice that this is my task list for the project. If I go back here, you'll see, notice each one of these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 project tasks here. Same thing. Same thing. So you can edit project tasks from a Gantt view as well. You can also create projects from a template. Other things you can do, you can export this and print off this whole project in a PDF. You can create project holidays, when certain people are going to be off, when they're unavailable to be resources. You can look at your projects in a project dashboard. Lots of things you can do with a project and the project templates. So that's just a brief overview of of the project. Now let's get into some details here. Whenever you create it, it's pretty simple stuff. You're going to enter a name for the project. You're going to enter the start date. I'll edit this for you, and you'll see the required fields. You edit a start date and an end date, the name of the project, and of course the team. You've probably got your system set, your Sugar system set, so that all records are created globally, but not everybody does. Just remember that if you don't have the team set to global, not everybody will see it, so it may be on a private team. But those are the only required fields: start date, end date, name, and teams. Once you've filled out all that information, you can save it. Other things are important, as a status. Out of the box, project is either in draft, in review, or has been published. You can also set the priority. By and large, these things are arbitrary. They don't have out-of-the-box functionality other than just indicating this to the users. But the reason these are important is because, well, you want to know what's high priority and what's not, but you may want to have workflows that are attached to projects. They're going to be based on the status of the priority. So we've got our project, we've just created it. You might, at the very beginning, create your resources. You can say, these are the people assigned to this project. This is sort of your project team. You can also do this by creating a team out of these people and assigning them to the project by using a Teams module. So I could say, this is my sales staff, expand sales staff. I could have a whole team called sales operations or sales staff expansion team. And I could be using that same team of people on multiple projects. And so every time I create a project like this, I would assign that project to a team. But in this case, I'm just selecting my resources and indicating them down here. Resources are important when I look at the Gantt chart. Now, Robin, I'm a little afraid to go into the Gantt chart again because I'm sure I'm going to see some other problems, but I will. Creating a project task. Let's look at the Gantt chart here. You can see that I've got the task name, start date. I'm going to assign some resources here. I'm going to do this pretty arbitrarily. But this is from my resource list that I set up in the main project page. I can also here specify the actual duration of this. Now, I should probably not have a specific duration here. I was doing a lot of mass updating to make sure there's some real data in here prior to this webinar. So forgive me if the data doesn't really make sense. The actual duration is how long you thought it was. This is the expected duration, and then how long it actually took. This is good for reporting. So I'm going to say it actually took 5 days. We got in under budget. View your project here in either the grid and Gantt, which is what I'm doing now. I can say I only want to see the Gantt chart, or you only want to see my grid. I personally like working in a grid only. I'm not a project management type, but I like working in the grid only. At this point, I can spit this out to a PDF. Let's say I've got the meeting coming up, and I want to export it to the PDF, so it's just going to print this thing out in a nice PDF form. But this is one of my favorite deals here. I like to see what my resources are doing. Who's stressed? Who's doing more than they should be, or who's assigned lots of stuff. Oops. And so this is useful to determine whether or not you're going to have a conflict in assigning things. I'm going to go back to my main view here.
And what are some of the, Lori had a question, what are some of the IDs starred? I'm not sure what screen you are on at that point. IDs in the left, 4 and 5.
Yeah, these are, the IDs here are just the flow of the project. The little star here is indicating that there's a, in the order, there's a problem in the order. I might have rearranged this. Or there's just a, yeah, so I might have, this may be the order that, it may not be the order that I've assigned inside the task. Watch this.
Judy says they indicate milestones.
Oh, Judy, okay. I thought you were asking about something else. Ah, okay, yeah, their milestone is associated with these here. That's right.
Okay, excellent.
But you can assign orders. Let me show you this. All right, so there's my project tasks. There's other things I can keep track of here. I haven't set up any project holidays. I haven't set up much at all with this project. But for example, let's say that I know that one of my resources is going to be on vacation. So it's going to be, I'll be retroactive here, but let's say that I know that Hal celebrates Valentine's Day. That's the user, and I'm going to specify Jane. So now I know that Jane is unavailable on Valentine's Day. And I can put in others here as well.
Great.
You may have pre-existing ones as well. There's another one.
And Kevin, this is a good general one from Darla. Do you know if there's a maximum number of tasks that can be entered into a project?
I do, and there aren't.
Unlimited amount of tasks. Great.
I'm sure there actually would be some sort of limit at some point, but there's no programmatic limit. You may have problems if you try to put in 6,000 tasks. You can also assign activities. Now, this is a good example of the difference between an activity and a project task. Project task is a project task. There's a task that's going to it's going to help you finish this project. An activity may just be something that I've got to call somebody. It's not an official project task, but I've got to call somebody and check up on the collateral. Maybe I've got to have a meeting with somebody to plan my next project task. These activities will show up in your calendar. These activities won't be part of the Gantt chart. So the project tasks show up on your Gantt chart in your grid. These activities do not. So if you want to schedule something that will show up on your calendar and maybe be synchronized with Outlook, it's related to this project, this is where you're going to do it. And just like any module, you're going to see the history. These other things down here, these are items related to this module. Contacts, just like any other module in Sugar, contacts, accounts, opportunities, etc. I don't need to get into this. A couple more things I want to go over here. If you hover over your projects tab, you're going to see lots of other things that are unique to the project module. One thing that I want to show you right now is the project templates. Here's my project template. This is going to look just like a project, except for the fact this is going to be something that out of which we can create other projects. If I save this as a project, it's going to create a project out of this template. Go back to my here. Oops, I want to go here. Here's another example of a template. Now, what you can do is you can create tasks associated with these templates. And in fact, what happened was I created tasks associated with the templates, and when we create the template, or when we create a project from the template, then you automatically get the tasks. Now, here's a good example of how workflows can play into projects. We had one customer for whom when they create or when they close an opportunity, when they sell a deal, they had to onboard their new client. So they would automatically, with a workflow, create a project task, or I'm sorry, create a project from a template, and that template would assign certain tasks for onboarding and assign them to various people associated with the opportunity that just closed. You know, the account manager, maybe a support person, etc. That's a great way to use workflows in the project module. Okay, I see some questions coming in, but before I do that, I want to show you one more thing here. Your project dashboard. So you'll notice that Jim Brennan had he's a fictitious dude up here. He had a lot of things assigned to him. The project dashboard is where you can see an overview of all the projects that are in place, that are going on. For example, this one we were just looking at, it's got a lot of overdue tasks here. This is stuff I was trying to clean up ahead of the meeting. And then some upcoming things. If there are cases associated with it, you'd also see this. This brings up another point. Notice that Sugar has put open cases here associated with projects. The idea is that project management, it was originally going to be used for solve cases or solve bugs. not anymore, but this is kind of a legacy thing here, that you may want to be using your project management module to manage your cases. Now I see some questions. Sonia, you got any good ones?
Yeah, this one directly relates to Chris. His question, is there a dashboard available that shows project tasks rather than normal tasks?
Chris, thank you very much. The answer is yes.
Great.
I'm going to go to my home page where we put dashlets. I'm going to add a Sugar dashlet. Right there, my project tasks. So you can put your project tasks right on the home page. And notice when I did that, I saw those project tasks. Now this is important to note that you may want to edit this. Normally you want to see your project tasks, but you may want to see things that are only high priority, and that's where the status comes in and priorities come in, because you may want to do something with them later. Maybe I only want to see things that are due in the next few days or something, or have an assigned finish date.
And the display rows, that's one that a lot of people don't notice. I love that. You can expand it from 5 items down to 10. So, it's, yeah, you can see more things on one view.
Yeah. And I wonder if anybody, if you guys know this, did you ever notice you can auto-refresh these things? Which I think is pretty cool.
So that's not refreshing the whole screen. That just does it itself.
Just the dashlet. Yeah, this is all the Ajax technologies. And go back to project management. So I want to create a project task that is a dependency, so I can show dependencies. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create my project tasks. I'm going to create a project task from here. Now let me go back to my project actually. So what I want to do is I want to create a dependency in here, my on-site sales meeting, arrange the venue. Look this in a Gantt chart. And here's my, I have my eyes on, okay, so here's my on-site sales meeting. All right? I'm going to expand these so I can see any dependencies. There aren't any. So now I'm going to add, I'm going to indent here and add task. Arrange my venue. Arrange my venue. Now this is a predecessor. I mean, this is going to, this is part of the on-site sales meeting. So to specify specific task dependencies, so for example, if one task has to be completed before another task, so before I can complete my on-site sales meeting, I have to arrange the venue. I do that in the grid view here. And, oh, I didn't assign this. I got to assign my resources first. I must not have saved this before. Let me save all of this. Okay, now my predecessor is going to be, my predecessor up here, task number 7. Now, if I had a bunch of predecessors or a bunch of subtasks for my on-site sales meeting, then Sugar is going to calculate the duration of this task based on all the other predecessors. So now I went in here and I physically added this to be 6 days instead of a summation, so there's no problem here. It's going to take my manual override. So if you start creating tasks and subtasks, then Sugar is going to be able to calculate the total duration of your task based on its subtasks. To edit my my grid view, there's other things here, other views that I can choose. I can specify date ranges. I can specify upcoming tasks, things like that. It's often important to see your overdue tasks. So I'm just keeping it at all because this is not a complex project. Notice also over here on my Gantt chart, I'm going to try to page forward to today. Yeah, there we go. I get to see this is your typical Gantt chart, what's going on, your dependencies, and the results.